Hello and welcome to an overview of A Parent's Guide to Experiential Learning by Workforce, Windsor, Essex. This resource was released as a part of an overall package called Experience for Success with two other resources, an Educator's Guide to Experiential Learning and an Employer's Guide to Experiential Learning. My name is Shenken and I am a Research Associate with Workforce, Windsor, Essex.
And I'm Tashlyn, Teskey, a researcher with Workforce, Windsor, Essex.
If you aren't aware of what Workforce Windsor Essex is or what we do in the community, what we do is we provide labor market information to different stakeholders in the region to try and provide for a stronger and more available and steady workforce. So without further ado, we will go over our Parent's Guide to Experiential Learning with you.
So we started this project last June when we felt that there was a disconnect between educators, employers, and students on taking advantage of experiential learning. So we had lots of educators coming to us and saying, we have all these opportunities for students to take part in, so whether it's co-op or field trips or job shadowing, and students were not taking part in them. They felt that it wasn't really beneficial to them. But then we had younger workers and even older workers coming to us and saying, I wish I had all these opportunities when I was younger. So we decided to create a Parent's Guide to Experiential Learning so that we can inform students and their parents about the benefits of experiential learning and how it can help them in their schooling now and how it can help them in their career later in life. So the question we get asked most often is, what is experiential learning? So experiential learning is any sort of hands-on learning that students can take part in through their school. So that often consists of co-op placements, internships, apprenticeships, youth apprenticeships, and job shadowing. But recently this has been expanded into field trips with interactive components, employer presentations in the classroom, job shadowing, volunteer experiences, and any extracurricular activities where they're able to sort of test out a subject that they have an interest in and learn new skills that they can use in the future. There are a lot of benefits for students to participate in experiential learning, and one that we think is most important is that they're able to identify their strengths, skill sets, and interests. So when students are able to test out a subject that they think they might want to work in the future, and they get to test it out in the workplace, they're able to see what strengths they already have and what interests they have in that subject already. And this can help later on when they're choosing their classes that they want to take, and they can see what classes will align with those interests and maybe what skills they need to further develop and want to take more classes on so they can benefit that. Additionally, they are able to improve on their communication and teamwork skills. So getting to work in the workplace, they're able to ask questions in a meaningful way and learn how to act professionally and work with their other coworkers. And having that knowledge outside of the classroom is really beneficial when they start working. Additionally, they are able to learn how to problem solve in the workplace so they can make connections with what they've learned in the classroom to what they're doing at work and see how it has that real-world solution for the company they're working and kind of shows that benefit of why they've done this work in the first place. Students also become more interested in improving their classroom performance. So maybe your child is struggling right now in school because they just don't find it interesting and don't see the point of it. But once they start working in the workplace and see how they can make those real-world connections, they'll be more engaged with what they're learning because they know the benefit of why they're learning it, and they see that working hard, acting respectful in the classroom will also translate to how they should act in the workplace. There's also an increased confidence in students when they start making schooling and career decisions, especially for female and minority students who may have previously been unsure of how their interests could align with their future careers and maybe didn't feel confident enough to follow on through to their interests and how that will impact them later in life. There are additional benefits to students that will impact them later on in life when they're starting to look for a job. The first thing that experiential learning contributes to these benefits is having something to stand out on the resume and speak about in an interview. So having that opportunity to stand out to an employer by having all of these experiences, so whether they're paid or unpaid, any volunteer placement, maybe even something they did through school, having that on their resume and be able to share about in an interview will make them stand out. Additionally, it'll help them have a smoother transition into the workplace Going from school to work can often be difficult for some students, so this gives them sort of a practice run, or what we like to call a test drive of their future career, and just getting into that workplace setting, learning how to be professional, respectful, and how to act appropriately. There may also be an opportunity for the student to be hired on by the employer that they did their work placement through. So this requires no more training after they're graduated from their schooling, and they can go right into that new role with already knowing all of their coworkers and being familiar with that workplace. So right now, students that have volunteer experience are 27% more likely to be hired on than someone who has no volunteer experience. In addition, any student that takes part in experiential learning during post-secondary education is 63% more likely to get a job after graduation than someone who did not. This is often due to already having that experience in place, already being familiar with the workplace, and having that trust of another employer that has taken you on. Additionally, students may have a higher starting salary for their first job after graduation because they've already had past experience in the workplace. So whether it was related to their new field of study or field of work, because of that past experience and the trust that a previous employer has put into them, a new employer may look at them and say, you already sort of know what you're doing, you've already been trained, I know that somebody else has trained you to be professional and respectful in the workplace. I think that you deserve a higher starting salary because of that.
Thank you, Tashlyn, for those benefits of experiential learning for children. The next section we'll be going over today is how parents can facilitate experiential learning for their children at home. So, the first tip that we recommend is talking about your own experience to your children. What skills did you learn on your own career path, and what was your career path journey like itself? Having this conversation with your children is very important for them to know that career paths are often not linear. It is okay sometimes to jump from job to job or change your idea of what you're interested in from what you thought you were interested in before. This is okay. And it is also important over this conversation to let your child know that no matter what job they are in, they are learning important skills for the future that will help them along their potential career path journey. So for example, even if you're just working part-time at McDonald's preparing food, you're still learning very important skills that you will be using later on down the road in your potential career path. A second tip that we suggest parents use with their children to promote experiential learning at home is to encourage your child to take part in extracurricular activities, maybe enroll in a summer camp program, or take part in educational programs at school that are aligned with what they believe their career path interests are. So examples of this can be specialized programs in high schools, for example, careers class in grade 10, or we now have new construction academy classes, as an example, from St. Joseph's High School or F.J. Brennan. So allowing your child to participate in programs like this will either allow them to narrow down the scope of what they believe they would want to do on their career path, or maybe open it up to different possibilities as well. Another important part of them participating in programs or activities like this is they might learn what they do not like to do. And this is not a bad thing. We like to say that it's just important that a children learns on their career path journey what they don't like as much as it is what they do like. You don't want your child entering a job later on in life that they thought they liked but never had a chance to experience it before and end up not liking it at all and not really having the opportunity to switch jobs after that and sort of being stuck in a dead-end position. A third tip that we recommend parents use at home to promote experiential learning with their child is to explore non-traditional careers together by maybe researching online or use other resources available in your family, such as other family members or friends, to ask maybe unique experiences they had on their career path journey. So, for example, it is 2018 and tons of new jobs are being created that didn't exist in the past. So if your child has an interest in vehicles or automobiles, maybe try to suggest to them to look into other options that they might not be aware of in the same field, such as the future of autonomous vehicles or research into alternative fuel types for cars that are better for the environment. A fourth tip that we recommend parents use at home to promote experiential learning for their child is to suggest your child volunteers in areas or at organizations that align with their career interests. So for example, if your child is interested in volunteering with animals, maybe the Humane Society would be a good place to start for them. An example I like to share is a story of my own when I volunteered at a summer day camp. I used to think I was interested in becoming a teacher as my career path, and as a child my parents had enrolled me at a summer day camp until I was too old to actually attend the day camp. And my parents came up with a good idea and suggested to me that, hey, why don't you go ask if you can volunteer maybe at the summer camp, because you're interested in becoming a teacher and the skill sets that you would learn there would definitely be transferable to a teacher role later on in life. So I went to the company and I asked if I could volunteer there, and they said yes. It was a great experience. I didn't actually end up following through on becoming a teacher, but I still use skills that I learned in that volunteer experience in my job today as a research associate. Also, as Tashlyn previously mentioned, those children with previous volunteer experience have a 27% greater likelihood of being hired into a job than those children who do not have a prior volunteer experience. I actually ended up being hired by this summer day camp company that I volunteered at, and I ended up working there for 3 summers during high school while I was off school. Another method in which we believe parents could promote experiential learning for their child at home is through hands-on activities such as building with Legos, drawing, or arts and crafts. We think it's a good idea to be paying attention to what your children like to do in their free time at home. So, for example, if your child spends all his or her free time at home playing video games, you might want to see how you can expand this interest into something else. So, for example, try to engage your child's interests, something related to video games, but maybe not the playing itself. So, ask your child if they know about what goes into the design process of designing a video game, or even ask if they know about the hardware components that go into the actual console system itself. This might open up your child's imagination into careers in the video game sector that they were not aware of before. Another tip that we like to suggest for parents is to support your child's career interests by encouraging them to explore career opportunities with their educators. Educators are also available in school to help your children with their career exploration process. Tell your child to ask their educator, when appropriate, if they can help them explore career options that are linked to their interests, or maybe others that they haven't thought of before. There are guidance counselors in high school hired to help students with this exact task, and there are also teachers that will be available before and after class if you book time with them or suggest to book time with them that would be happy to help you with your career exploration opportunities. So for example, if your child is interested in chemistry, maybe get them to ask a science teacher if they have any extra time to help them with a career exploration process path that they went through and the skills they learned on their own career journey. A final tip that we recommend parents to use with their children to promote experiential learning at home is to engage them in conversation. So a lot of children may not be at the stage where they realize that career exploration is something that can also happen outside of the classroom. So when they come home from school, start conversations with them by asking stuff like, what was the most exciting part of your day? What did you find most interesting about this specific class? This will get them thinking outside of the classroom and get them maybe thinking about how they can start their career exploration process outside of the classroom as opposed to just inside. So different forms of experiential learning are also listed in this guide. So what we have are some examples of at school and at home activities. So that brings us to the end of our presentation today. We realize that we've just shared a lot of information with you. So we recommend that you go visit our website, www.workforcewindsoressex.com, and do a little searching there for yourself. This resource is available for PDF download in the Experiential Learning Hub section of our website. As well, if you have any questions, our contact information will be brought up at the screen for you at the end of this presentation. Thanks for listening today, and we hope you have a great day.